I'm not going to speak for too long because, like you said, I have one more meeting after this. It's been a packed day. It's been an exhausting day, but my spirit was revived after I visited the Dramani Museum. I mean, it was one of the most wonderful tours that I've had, and it just transported me back to our 70s and 80s, and it just connected with my spirit, and so that's giving me the energy to bounce back and even be able to come and speak with all of you. But it's been a good visit. Unfortunately, it's been quite short because of the timing of the visit. We're supposed to be here till the 9th. Unfortunately, we have to head back on the 5th because August 6th, which is the independence anniversary, is also the day we lost our comrades in the helicopter crash. And we have a memorial service and some activities in their honor, and so we have to rush back to be present. And so Prime Minister Holness was very kind enough to say I should still come as a special guest of honor for the anniversary. I can spend the 3rd and 4th with them honoring the anniversary, and then we can head back and then go and fulfill our duties. And so we had good meetings. I'm sure he's briefed you. The bilaterals were very good. I mean, in all the discussions, it's very interesting to see the similarity between what we've been going through in Ghana and what Jamaica has been going through. Jamaica is on the rebound. Reforms are happening. The economy is getting back on track, though gradually. It's been the same for us in Ghana. We went through a period of crisis. We defaulted in our debts. We were shut out of the capital market, credit market. And since last year, we've started a rebound. The economy is back on its feet. Inflation is down. The cedi, our currency, long-suffering cedi, has suddenly got a new lease of life and is performing much better than it did in the past. We're instituting fiscal discipline measures. We're doing a lot of infrastructure development with our own resources. For the last 1.5 years since we came into government, we've not gone out externally to borrow any money, and yet we're fixing our roads, we're building hospitals, we're building schools. And so I do believe that just as we had a new group of committed leaders who worked for the liberation of the African continent, the new breed of African leaders face another challenge, and that is the economic emancipation of not only our countries, but the whole of Africa. And that's why we're taking some measures to make sure that we take more control of our natural resources, we take more control of our processes. And so we have instituted some measures that gives us, more sovereignty. We had a conference in Accra we called the Accra Reset. And even though it targeted health sovereignty, that we should manufacture more of our own pharmaceuticals in Africa, it doesn't, speak well that in the 21st century, 90% of medicines that we consume in Africa are produced from outside. And yet we have the capacity to produce those medicines ourselves. But we must challenge the global order that makes it impossible. Because they say you must get WHO certification and so on. They make it so difficult that, it excludes local manufacturers, and it's only the European manufacturers and some of the Asian manufacturers that are certified to be able to produce those. But we're building a pharmaceutical industry. Ghana has one of the best thriving pharmaceutical industries. We're trying to produce our own vaccines because during COVID, we suddenly realized that the vaccine owners said they have to satisfy their population first. If it weren't that God had built us as a resilient people and that COVID didn't affect us as much as it did the other people, we would all be dead because they kept the vaccines to themselves, but luckily God had given Africans some immunity, and so we didn't die in droves the way people were dying in other places. But we can't leave it at that and say we leave everything to God. God has given us a talent and the wisdom to be able to do some of these things ourselves. And so in Ghana, we've set up the National Vaccine Institute, and we're working together with the Africa-CDC, Center for Disease Control, and we're working with other international partners to begin manufacturing vaccines in several centers in Africa, in South Africa, in Morocco, in Senegal, in Ghana, and some other countries. And so we'll specialize in different vaccines, and we can exchange amongst ourselves in the event of any outbreak. But like I said, Accra reset does not refer to only health sovereignty. It refers to sovereignty over our resources and our processes. I mean, for many years since Ghana got independent, ours has been a colonially constructed economy where we just do extractive work and then we ship off all those exports for them to be finished somewhere and re-exported back to us as finished product at much higher prices than they bought the raw product. And so now in the 21st century, the bulk of our cocoa beans are exported to Belgium and Netherlands, and they are processed into chocolates and cocoa drinks and things and re-exported to us, to buy at higher prices. And so we say no. We realized that the structure with which we were financing our cocoa bean purchases was a problem. Because what we did was we went to the European traders and we took money from them at the beginning of the season to pay our farmers for the beans. And then we realized that the money we took from them, the collateral for that money was the beans. And so you were forced to export those beans. And so we just introduced a cocoa bill in Parliament. And we said that the Cocoa Board is going to be able to raise bonds locally and raise the cedis to pay the farmers. And so when we do that, the cocoa belongs to us. It doesn't belong to the traders. So we can decide when we want to ship it. We can decide how much of it we want to process locally. We can decide how much we want to put on the world market. It gives us greater control. And so those are some of the things we're doing. Value addition. I've said from this coming season, at least 50% of our cocoa must be processed locally. And so only 50% of our beans is going to be available on the world market for others to buy and process. And increasingly, if we can continue processing more of our beans, a time will come when 100% of the beans will process locally. We can send primary and secondary products, cocoa rum, cocoa liquor, cocoa powder, cocoa butter, and all that. And then those who think they are chocolatiers and things, you can buy our cocoa butter and do your chocolate and export it wherever you want. And so that's one area. Another area is with gold. When we came, everybody was coming and buying gold and exporting and not recording how much they were taking. It was a laissez-faire atmosphere. And so we were not getting the full benefit of that mineral. And that is what our country was named. Our country was called the Gold Coast. And so from south to north, all the way into Burkina Faso, if you dig, you will find gold somewhere. And yet, we're not getting the full benefit of our own natural resource. In the colonial time, foreign companies will come and take huge concessions, and then you see them mining. They build beautiful houses for themselves. They have lawn tennis courts and all that. And all around them are communities in poverty. We say that must change. Those resources belong to us, and our people must benefit from those resources. So one of the things we did when we came was to set up what we call a gold board and ban all exports of gold. You can't take gold out of Ghana unless it is exported through the gold board. And what we realized was, once we put that control, we exercised sovereignty over our gold. Last year alone, gold brought $10 billion into the Ghanaian economy. And that's only from the small scale sector. I'm not talking about the large scale sector, only the small scale sector. In 2024, we had exported 64 tons of gold. When we put in the new restrictions, we exported 104 tons of gold. It meant that all that 40-something tons was passing somewhere else. And apart from that, the 64 tons, only 30% of the foreign exchange came back into Ghana. The rest passed somewhere else. With the 104 tons, every single dollar was accounted for. And so that has helped to build resilience in the economy. Our first president had a lot of vision. He built strategic industries all over our country after independence. He was inspired by Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey didn't only preach liberation, he also preached economic progress and commercial investments. And so he was talking about the Black Star Line and all those things. And Nkrumah has always admitted that Marcus Garvey was one of his inspirations, both in the liberation struggle and also in the things he did after he became president. And so our president built the new ports in Tema. He built the Akosombo Dam, which still produces about 25% of Ghana's power. He built the Tema port. He built the Volta Aluminium Company. You know, he built State Fishing Corporation. So many state-owned enterprises that provided jobs for our young people. And over the years, all these things have been left to decay. And so we have strategically said that we're going to bring back those industries to glory. And just this week, before I left Accra, our oil refinery that had been down for almost 7 years, we have restarted that refinery. It is working again. Indeed, it has helped insulate us from what is happening in Iran, because we are giving our own crude oil to our refinery. And so we're not affected by the stranded ships in the Strait of Hormuz. We don't have any oil in the Strait of Hormuz. Our oil is coming from just next door, from our own oil fields to our refinery. But these are some of the things that we can do to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. And it's showing in all the economic indices. At the time we took over, inflation was 23.4%. Today, inflation is 4.7%. Indeed, it went to 3.2. It went down to 3.2, but because of the increased oil price, it has gone to 4.7, which is still good. And like I said, the currency has strengthened, business confidence has returned, and things are going well so far. I'll just talk a little bit about reparations, and I think I'll wrap up at that point. At the time we came to the presidency and became EU champion for reparations, we found that we were all talking and acting in silos. You know, CARICOM was doing its own thing, African Union was doing its own thing, North America was doing its own thing, other civil activist groups and things were all doing their own thing. And so we realized that these guys are not going to take us serious unless we speak with one voice. And so for us, the roadmap was clear. Bring everybody together. Let's have the same hymn sheet like We Are the World, when they were singing We Are the World. And let's all sing from that same hymn sheet. And so we got our We Are the World reparations hymn sheet. And he did most of the legwork, you know. I was with him in Korea, and then I got back to Accra, and I was looking for him. I said, "Where are you?" You know, of all places, he was in Azerbaijan. I said, "But what the hell are you looking for in Azerbaijan?" He said, "Oh, you know, we have the UN resolution coming, and we need all of them on board. And I hear Azerbaijan has influence on Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and all the stands. And so I came here to get them to influence all the stands around them so that they will vote for us." But they did a lot of legwork, him and the foreign ministers of CARICOM and the other ministers. Everybody took it on himself to join the movement. And finally we saw we were all speaking with one voice. And so when I gave the notice last September that we're going to move the motion, they thought we were not serious. But when it was getting to the time, people started panicking. And at the last minute, I got calls, and I'll not say from who, and they said their intelligence has shown that we will not get the numbers to pass the resolution, and that They are not against the resolution, but they want us to have some more consultation on it so that I can move the resolution in September. That means this coming September, so that they can support. We can all come to a consensus on the resolution. And so I got a bit taken aback because my Prime Minister had assured me that we had it in the bag, you know, and this was just the last minute, a few days to moving the resolution. And so I called him. He was in America. He had gone to prepare for us to move it. And I said, look, I got a call from one of our friendly nations, European country, and they said the intelligence showed that we won't get the votes to pass the resolution, and that rather than, you know, send a resolution and let it fail, we should withdraw it, and that we should hold more consultation, and then we move the motion in September. And so I called him, and he said, Mr. President, it's now or never. If we don't move this resolution now, we'll never move it again. And he says, I can assure you we have the numbers. At least more than 110 countries will vote for this motion. I said, are you sure, Sonny? He said, yes. I said, okay, let's go for it. And we did. And 123 countries voted for it. And so people asked me, they said, yes, so after the motion, what next? And that is why we held a conference in Accra called the Next Steps Conference. And again, we brought all the brothers and sisters from the African diaspora, and we held a very good meeting in Accra. And out of that meeting, we agreed on what our next concrete steps are going to be. And so I think that things are going quite well. This afternoon, I was talking about the diaspora, and at the University of West Indies, I said that the right of our brothers and sisters to return to the motherland, to Africa, is not a privilege, it's a right. They were forcibly taken away, and that is their home as much as it is our home. And that's why President Rawlings, of blessed memory, in Ghana passed the right of abode law. That gave a pathway to citizenship and residence in Ghana. And many Jamaicans, many Americans, many Africans from the diaspora took advantage of it. Our own Mama Rita Mali took advantage of it and lived in Accra for more than 20 years. And so we are taking that law and codifying it and making it easier. And so we have the Homeland Return Act, which is going to be passed by Parliament, that will give a right for any person of African descent in the diaspora to be able to come to Ghana visa-free and apply for residence and live in Ghana and get citizenship in Ghana. And so these are things that must connect us spiritually. But at the same time, we must turn the Atlantic, which they thought was going to divide us, into something that brings us together. And so today with Prime Minister Holness, we've been talking about a lot of things. We've been talking about how to even start direct flights from Accra to Montego Bay. We've been talking about how to start a shipping route between the Caribbeans and Africa. And so these are all tangible things that I think will bring us together. And at last, that huge Atlantic Ocean that they thought they were carrying our people across forever, and that door through which they went, that they called the door of no return, will become the door of return again. And our brothers and sisters will come back. And I want to thank our brothers and sisters in Jamaica for receiving and accepting our citizenship. I've spoken to the ministers, members of government and everything, and they talk about how well our people are received here. And why not? Because they are home. I mean, Jamaica and Ghana, there's no difference. From the time I walked from the airport, I was entering the hotel, and I saw this young man. And I thought he was trying to surprise me. I thought it was my younger brother. I thought they brought him without my knowledge. And so I was going to ask, what are you doing here? And they said, oh, that's the deputy something, Jamaican deputy. And so I took another look at him. I said, oh no, that's not him. But since I came here yesterday, I've seen my aunties, I've seen my daughter, I've seen my sons, I've seen striking images of my own children, my aunties, my sisters, and everything. And so I meet somebody and I say, oh, that looks like my aunt. You know, this one is like my sister Hawa, you know. I mean, when I was inspecting the Guard of Honor, I mean, for a while I thought I was inspecting a Ghanaian Guard of Honor. The soldiers all look the same. Their uniforms are the same, their commands are the same. You know? And so we feel at home here. And we've enjoyed our visit. I've invited Prime Minister Holness to join us next year for our 70th anniversary of independence. Remember, Ghana was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to become independent. And so next year we're celebrating 70 years of independence. And we're dedicating that anniversary to the whole of Africa and people of the African diaspora, because that is what kicked off the liberation struggle. As soon as Nkrumah gained independence, Ghana became the headquarters. And I remember when we were growing up, there were people from America, civil rights leaders, there were South African freedom fighters, Zimbabweans, Zambians, Kenyans, you know, everybody held a Ghanaian diplomatic passport so that you couldn't get arrested.